folks, howdy. Precursor announcer here. What is she cracking up about?
Who knows?
This one is you laughing at, Carolyn.
Well, Scott said.
Anyway, this one's pre-recorded. We had some stuff I got to take care of tomorrow night, so we couldn't do it live. So we're going to pre-record one just because we know that both of you that watch this regularly
You gotta have your fix, right?
ain't got no friends and nothing else to do on Thursday night. So make sure you got a few minutes of entertainment. We thought we would pre-record this one for you and put it up tomorrow night. Let y'all decide for yourselves if you like us better pre-recorded or live.
Yeah.
Right, Scott?
Yep.
How's your world been spinning? Left to right?
Yep.
East
Same.
to west?
Yep. Good. Very good.
That's good. That's good. Nothing strange happening?
Nope.
How's Aries doing?
Yeah, Aries being Aries.
Yeah.
He's doing good.
Because we may get him in there. June, right now, tentative June 10th, next Canine Pro Sports trial. I got to check with my agitator, Rick. We'll be calling you up there in Washington State, up in Seattle. Daryl will be calling you down in Mississippi for our judges. Right now, Farmer's Almanac's telling me that's going to be the nicer weekend in June before it gets hot or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now we're looking at June 10th. If there's a change, I'll call and tell you. If we are going to be doing continuous prep lessons, if anyone's never been to a pro sports trial and wants to participate or learn more about it, we're going to do. Caroline, we're going to keep Tuesday nights going or not?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
a lot of people like it.
We're doing a Tuesday night obedience deal. For anyone, we'll show you how they do the obedience, and then of course Saturday morning we're going to be doing, instead of just our normal security dog training, we're going to start going more to sort of scenario pro sports stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be doing a lot of scenario training. Probably get some building searches in for people, because in our patrol division we can do building searches. The way everything's set up, you can change anything up, so they're not a surprise exercise, but they're not pattern exercises, if that makes sense. And speaking of pro sports, because it got started when I was in the guard dog business. It supposed to be a one-time show in old Mexico, Juarez, Mexico, and people on this side of the border started hearing about it and called and asked me, and next thing I knew, we were doing shows in Tennessee and Maryland and Florida, and turned around twice, and I was going to Denmark and Australia and Puerto Rico, and it's funny now that I think about this. We started in Mexico. I've been from the north to the south tip of the globe doing pro sport trials. We've never done a trial in Canada.
You didn't know me then.
Huh?
You didn't know me back then.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you can fix that for us.
We could have taken care of that.
Yeah. So
We still can.
still can. We might do that, but not in the wintertime.
Nope.
Nope. So
July dates only.
yeah, that'd be good. So we're going to talk about another little guard dog thing comes up, because I was watching all the different styles of dog training that everybody uses, right? And the one thing, like I put in my book, which was explaining the style of training that I had to develop to train the guard dogs. There's a subtle difference between the way you work guard dogs and the way you prepare just any pup that you raise for a competition or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a good reason for that subtle difference. The kind of dogs in my guard dog company, the kind of dogs we had, they'll get you. I mean, that's all there is to it. If one of the drivers delivering dogs, if a dog turned on him and nailed him, which happened, the rule was real simple. All the time that dog's chewing on you, and we developed a program to get out of a dog's mouth, no matter what. And I'll go into a little bit more of that here in just a minute when we're going into this topic of obedience training. But when you're in that dog's mouth, you're not going to be yelling or cussing him. And when you get out of his mouth, you're going to pet him and tell him what a good boy he is. Because that's his job,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we didn't want to ever discourage any of that. So if you take a dog that's kind of comes to you with an attitude in the first place, he's already an adult. In some cases, I had some dogs we took in as old as 5 or 6 years old for various reasons. I also took dogs from other guard dog companies that had got out of the yard, maybe got innocent people, and to save their life, the guy had to get rid of them. I would buy those dogs if they were proven biters.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want just yappers. So we had to develop a few things differently. It's a guard dog. We're going to go to a 5-acre lot. For instance, we had the Customs had an impound, 5-acre impound lot. And if they busted a cartel, their cars, such as that, the mules driving over, and with the smuggling stuff across the border, they'd steal those cars. Not steal, they'd impound those cars. They were in an impound lot. And it was 5 acres. And I mean, we had it from Lamborghinis to ocean-going sailboats.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in this lot. So we had 2 dogs we turned loose in there. When we turned them loose, the next day, for the place to open, we had to obviously get those dogs out of there before the workers showed up. So one thing we had to have on our guard dogs was a really good recall. That's where I came into the silent whistle. The other thing we wanted, because you're going to have times, well, the basic commands are: we needed a good recall, we needed them to heal, we needed them to stay. After that, we didn't give a damn, except bite hard.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know, when you're working our dogs on Saturday morning, you looked at a bunch of the stuff that you see on YouTube already.
Mm-hmm.
You see how they're training. You see a difference in the way we train the bite work, although that's a little off the topic, but is there a difference, just so you folks can get a little better idea? I was hearing from a man who's been in their mouth in person. Is there a difference from what you see on the YouTube's social media and the way we train? What do you think?
It's overall,
Yeah.
the difference.
In what way? Put you on the spot here.
Well, no, on the spot. Some of the biting is the biting. You want to full bite bouts, no matter if it's something they're trying to get out of the dog. That's the basic goal, to get a dog to commit completely. Correct?
Right.
Now, what I see is how the person behind the dog holds the dog and how it reacts to the dog. And for the most part, now there are some, they have commands.
Right.
They work with some commands, but for the most part, they're just shooting dogs out. 60%, just all about the decoy looking cool and the bite and the hat on backwards, and and they're good catching. It's good catching.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
in relation to where you're seeing some of these guys come out there and actually dog to a heel, to a send, to an out, to a recall. There's some of that out there too.
Yeah.
But it's a different techniques,
Right.
There's all different ways, but for the most part, it's all with the handlers. They're less focused on the handler and what the commands of the dog are than the dog just going to bite.
Right. And I personal opinion of mine, I think most of that is designed. Most of the bite work you'll see on social media is designed for the decoy's comfort.
Mm-hmm. There's some that I'm seeing a bunch of they're doing good bite work.
Oh yeah.
But the bite work's only part of it.
Yeah.
And when you got a decoy or you have someone on the side, tell them handle them what to do. More or less, I'd rather have basically you get your decoy and you get your trainer.
Right.
The trainer needs to be the one telling instruction to the handler, not the decoy. The decoy knows what he's got to do.
Better.
Well, but that's for command. Sometimes you got to tell them, hey, listen,
Right. Because they can see something from a different angle.
Yeah. But overall, those are the ones I watch. You have the trainer out there with the decoy, and he's telling the handler, and to a point, as these videos progress, these people that handle these dogs, you can see it changing the dog. how it acts,
Right.
it stays, the temperament of the dog,
Yep.
you know. And the ones I watch for, when they're done biting, their tails are wiggling. 'Cause
They're happy.
They're happy. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing.
Yeah, and they're not crazy. And what Scott's talking about, the way we work our handlers, is the same way I work my drivers that we're delivering the guard dogs. We want a good rapport between the two of them. We want the dog wanting to work for them. I had dogs that, you know, didn't like no damn body or nothing on two legs.
Hmm.
And we'd spend a lot of time because, you know, we had places where that kind of dog was needed. But we had to be able to call our dogs to us when we got there in the morning to get them on the van and get out of there so the customer could open his doors. So we had to have really excellent recalls on these dogs. That's when I started using that silent whistle, because I realized they can hear that for miles. So how do you teach a dog who's either feels like or has learned that when he's irritated with somebody, he has the right to discipline him just like it was another dog? How do you do that and stay in one piece? What gave me the idea for this story, I mentioned it to you the other day.
Mhm.
We had some people brought me a Rottweiler, big, big. One of the top 10 biggest I've ever had in the kennel. And anyway, the dog had shown a great deal of aggression, and the wife was scared to death of him, so we ended up with him. And I had a young guy that was working for me, and I can't remember, and this is a long time ago, and I thought of it the first time when we were talking the other day, so I'm not real clear on the details, but as best I remember it, I think he was in college at the time. He was, 20-year-old, loved dogs, wanted to work in the guard dog business, and he was working part-time for us. And this big old Roddy, who hated my guts, and most of us, just took a shine to this kid. And they were buddies. And I mean, this kid would come, he was working weekends, but he was, every afternoon, whenever he was done at schooling or whatever he was doing, he's at that kennel, and he'd take that big old Roddy out, and they got to be that close. Well, the number one rule that I had in that kennel, the only thing that would get you fired if you did it once, was when you pulled in, we had a training yard out front, then we had an office in my house, and then we had a wall, 5-foot cinder block wall, and behind that we had all the kennels with the dogs. Nobody ever went back there with those guard dogs in that kennel by themselves. If you were alone, if there was nobody back there, you waited. And there were no exceptions, no excuses, no nothing. I'd had, early on when I started, I had several people seriously mauled. They'd gone back there by themselves, think, well, my dog loves me, even though it's just a guard dog. Anyway, this kid, he goes in there and he shows up on it was a weekend, I believe, Saturday or Sunday, and he went back there by himself. And I don't know where I was out doing something. I get a phone call and it's him, and he tells me he's on his way to the hospital. This Roddy had just attacked him. Wow, how bad are you hurt? And he says, well, I'm just going to the hospital. He said, but I had to kill the dog. Okay, that's rough. That's rough. And so the number one first rule is never go into the kennel alone, ever. But the first thing that I taught people was not this is sit, stay, or down, or this is your route. The first thing I taught every one of our drivers was how to disable a dog. What to do if you were ever attacked by one of these dogs. It happens. And how to get in that situation and you come out alive. You won't come out the winner. But once a dog gets a hold of you, I'm sorry. Even if you kill him, you're going to be miserable for quite a while. Anyway, this old boy told me, he said he'd gone in there he came back 3 or 4 days later, explained the whole story to me. He'd gone in, and the old big dog, he'd be going out and was fooling with him. Went to put him back, and I had, those kennels were 4 by 10, and I had a large dog house in the back end. He brought the dog in, turned him loose in the kennel, played with him for a few minutes inside the kennel, and the dog, when he went to the gate, the dog was just jumping up on him, and from the description he gave me, I thought it was a frantic dog who didn't want him to leave. He was like grabbing at him, jumping up on him. He started pushing him back. I think he probably got the dog a little excited, and he kept pushing him, and the more you push him away, the more they're going to want to come in. He said he kind of pushed the dog back a little bit, and he turned to go to the gate, and just before he got to the gate, the dog grabbed him by the ankle, pulled him on the ground, pulled him off his feet onto the ground, and then jumped up on him. Wasn't biting him, just jumped up on him and kept him pinned to the ground. He's pushing him away, and of course, the dog's getting more and more excited, and as he's pushing, the dog is starting to growl. He's ramping up, the adrenaline's flowing, but he manages to get over, grab the chain link fence, pull himself to his feet, and when he does, as he turns to go 3 or 4 feet from the gate, he turns to get to the gate as quick as he can, and the big Roddy grabbed him right by the back of the elbow and just jerked him backwards again. He did like he should. He got really calm. He didn't yell or scream. He started talking to the dog, try to calm him down. There was no calming this dog down. So I'm not going to go into detail about how you can break a dog off, because there's some things I'm not going to repeat to the general public. But he gets the dog off of his elbow, gets to the gate as quick as he can, and the dog launches, grabs him by the back of the shoulder, pulls him to the ground, rebit, grabbed him by the back of his head. Now, this kid was right at 6 foot tall. And I mean, he's a well-built kid, but he had to be 170, 160 pounds. He said this big dog, by his head, was dragging him back to the doghouse. The only thing that saved him, as bad as it sounds, is his scalp ripped loose, and he jumps up, and as the dog hits him, he got him just the right way, got the dog in the position he needed to get him into, and choked him to death. When he showed up, his head was still in bandages, but he showed up again a couple of weeks later, and he looked like somebody who'd gone to an Apache war party that he shouldn't have gone to. I mean, he lost most of the top of his head. I kept in touch with him, and months later, the hair, everything grew back, but I mean, this kid was... So that's the kind of dog we want to teach obedience to. You know, you can't get on them, because they'll get back on you even harder. So when I'm trying to, and we would be out there going to heel, and you pop one of them, and them suckers come right up the leash. So there's, to my way of thinking, there's two main ways, two systems or types of training. There's compulsion, bang, I'm gonna jerk up hard enough, your butt's gonna go down. I'm gonna force you into that position. There's all positive, which is all hope, I call it. Don't, please sit, please sit, please sit. When the dog gets tired of standing and sits down, you say, ooh, there's a treat, good boy, right? You know, so dog trainers for years have believed in repetition. But the problem with too much repetition is the dog gets bored, screws up, and when he screws up, you bang on him to get him back in a correction. You correct him to get him back in position. These dogs, if you banged on them or corrected them hard, they bite you. So that option's gone. So the first thing I started doing was sitting back watching some of the guys handle their dogs. I realized that what I'd been doing wrong was too many repetitions. Because after you do X number of repetitions that to you seem right, to this individual dog, he may be getting bored, he may be getting distracted, he may be getting sore. and he's going to screw up something. Instead of at a heel, instead of sitting right next to you, he might swing out in front of you. And instead of staying for 5-10 seconds like you want him to, he might break his stay in 3 seconds. So we've got to convey to the dog that that's not the right behavior. But I was thinking the best way to not have to worry about that correction is to avoid the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So repetitions went out the window. Enthusiasm replaced it. Short, 3 or 4 times. We never asked a dog anything more than 3 or 4 times. That's the first thing. We replaced repetition with enthusiasm. They started picking it up really well. But then you still have the ones that have trouble figuring it out. And we couldn't correct them. I wasn't going to ask someone to correct them anyway, I'll put it that way. So at this point, and I think all these things happened by accident. I just happened to do something that worked and realized it at the time. Let's take a stay. I tell the dog to stay, because you have to deal with a guard dog sometimes when you're unlocking the gate, the locks. I tell the dog to stay. I walk away, and we teach to stay in increments. First we go 3 or 4 steps, and we count to 5. Then we go 8 or 9 steps. We count to 8. And my goal in the guard dog with the guard dogs was for them to be a solid, rock solid 30-second stay. I can unlock any gate and get back to them in 30 seconds. So you start off, and they go staying stationary for 10 seconds, and then they get up and start walking around because they're nothing going on. Instead of cranking on them, I thought, nothing succeeds like success, we've always heard, right? So why don't I just make this dog successful? And the way I did it was simple. I'd say stay. I'd walk away 4 or 5 steps. I'd turn around, maybe he followed me, maybe he stayed for 2 seconds and got up and walked. But he broke his stay. I could do the standard, I could go back and go, bang, no. Or I could do the all positive and go, please don't get up again. And I'm not knocking all positive, I use positive stuff and everything. But it's fun to get a joke in every now and then, right? Mm-hmm. Scott's getting bored with me over here.
Yeah.
So what we started doing was looking for success. The dog breaks his stay. I would tell him to sit, stay. I'd walk back 2 steps. I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, walk right back to him and say, first off, I started putting an end command to the stay. Because most of us just teach our dog to stay, walk away so many steps, trying to say, oh, come here. And he comes running. And, you tell him to stay and walk across the street. When you turn around and look at him, he's probably going to think you're fixing to call him and he's going to come running. So we had to put an ending to the stay command. I told you to stay. You can't move again until either I go back to you or you hear the word okay to get up. So we started working on that until the dog showed that he understood he's not supposed to get up until he hears the word okay. Now at this point, I can work with my trust deal. I'll go back 20 steps and know he's going to break that stay. And when he breaks it, I don't get upset. I don't put a leash on him. I just walk back over. I tell him to sit, stay, walk out 5 steps, get right back to him real quick and say, okay, and shove a steak down his mouth. And he kind of goes, wow, that's tasty. And I do it about 2 or 3 times. In other words, I didn't ask him to do very, very much. And that way he was successful at the little bit he was doing. And as he got the idea that, listening to this guy is really worth my time, he's starting to, now all I have to do is get in my repetitions to build that conditioned response you need in any dog, right? So, reflections.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Different.
Yeah.
Different angle.
Yeah.
But with those kind of dogs, and that'll work with any dog. It doesn't have to be just a guard dog,
Yeah, that's right. It'll work with any. It works with any of them. You know, it's just,
Stress-free.
it's what?
Stress-free for the dog.
Yeah, yeah, that's the beauty of
Because
it.
the dog's already dogs start stressing. That's when they light up.
That's when they screw up.
Or the one, yeah. And then there's tension and people get bit.
Yeah, so.
Well, dogs are usually already stressed when they come to a new area too, when
Well,
you
it's
leave
a
them
good
for
point.
boarding training.
Good point, yeah. Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
just, we're taking the stress out as much as we can, and they're listening better. You know, I think, Caroline will tell you, that's how we train all our dogs in our obedience program today. You know, we try to reward success rather than punish failure. Because you ain't learning nothing from failure, except that was uh-oh. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was an uh-oh. They don't have the ability to learn from their mistakes like we do. If we just get on them for it, that has no meaning. So if we give them the chance to be successful, we can make that rewarding by showing them their ball, playing tug, giving them a treat. There's all kind of ways we can say, you listened, you performed the right behavior, and look how good that is.
Because even some of this bite training, the stay and the alerting your dog is important.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, there's some dogs that don't alert. They're already alert. They're just they see and they're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Those dogs sometimes don't get a bite because they heel, or they sit, or they wait, or
Yeah. You got to get control.
once control is established,
Right.
then he knows how to channel his enthusiasm. He knows that, all right, and they're anticipating it, but they're getting more self-control.
Yeah, and that's a good point. They do. Their ability for self-control improves as well. So anyway, that's how I do the guard dogs, and now all my dogs. I don't know if that'll help somebody.
Yep.
You know, I hope it will. But we'll be back live next week. Just remember, if you're interested in that pro sport certification trial, you can give me a call anytime. Go to our webpage, Capel Canine.
Yep.
Come back and join us next week, both of you.
Everybody have a good week and good weekend. We'll see some of you here, and always remember, it's all about the dogs. See ya.
Thank you, folks.